You know, art takes many forms, but it all starts with an idea or a concept from inside the artist's mind. On each episode, we meet Valley artists to find out what they do and why they do it. Welcome to IAM. I'm your host, Trey Goodman. You know, there's two things I really enjoy: great television programs and great music. I'm here at the studios of Channel 99 in downtown Phoenix. Channel 99 is the educational channel, and they create some of the best programming in the Valley. On today's show, we're going to meet Gene Faith, a local guitarist, singer, and songwriter. Gene's been creating music for over 30 years in the Valley. I hope you enjoy the conversation I had with Gene as much as I did. So Gene Faith, welcome to Inside the Artist's Mind, and we're here at the Sky Cafe in downtown Mesa.
Oh, thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And you are a musician, you're a composer, you write music, you record music, you play guitar. What got you started in the music business?
Basically, first time I heard a Kiss record.
Kiss?
Believe it or not. I think mostly because I liked the music, but then I found out that it freaked my parents out to leave the album covers laying around.
Yeah.
That gave way to Alice Cooper, David Bowie. You know, the weirder they look, the better. I wasn't really much of a sport kid. I mean, I played a little baseball and stuff like that. But I think partially because we moved around so much. My dad had a job where he got transferred a lot and that kind of thing. So my activities tended to be fairly solitary. And music was a way to be able to spend that time.
And this was at an early age?
And it was at like the age of 8. You know, so I mean, I would do Little League and that kind of thing, but you know, move out to the suburbs. You don't necessarily have all those kids around and stuff that you might have in an older neighborhood, a more city neighborhood. Yeah. And as a result, I just sort of picked up the guitar and stuff as a result of wanting something creative to do with my time.
Now, why the guitar, though? I mean, why not a piano or a saxophone or?
I found a piano was difficult to lift.
Okay.
Guitar was pretty much just what was made the most sense. All the bands that I liked were guitar bands.
Okay.
So, you know, it was kind of that, hey, I want to do what he does, you know.
So you just got tied into that? I mean, did you start playing or then you did write? I mean, how did the progression come about? I mean, because you do a lot more than just pick up a guitar and play it.
Yeah, well, at the ripe old age of like 8 or 9 or whatever, however old I was when I started, I think part of it is you're always imitating your heroes. And so the first part of learning it is always seeing how well you can duplicate what somebody else wrote.
And who were some of your guitar heroes?
Ace Frehley, Ted Nugent, Brian May with Queen. And then I got introduced to bands like Rush and Yes. And got into things that were much more involved. Of course, David Gilmour with Pink Floyd.
Right. Now, why do you play music then?
I don't have an answer for that.
No answer for that?
No, it's such a broad question.
Yeah.
I never dawned on me that I would be asked that question.
You just like playing, or?
Music was just always the art that made the most sense to me. I enjoy painting and drawing, but I'm not particularly good at it.
Yeah.
There was something about the idea of rhythm and melody and the elements of a song and the way that it can change the way somebody feels or you know, interpret a moment.
Well, what's your music trying to say then?
Depends on the song.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's no one message. There's no one big thing that I'm trying to get to. It's always a combination of, it's very reactionary.
On your part, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's always sort of trying to reflect back whatever I see or whatever whatever might be happening to me at the time.
Well, so how did you go from wanting to imitate guitar players to then writing music and composing and all that? How did that evolve?
Oddly enough, that usually comes from trying to learn someone else's song, doing it wrong, and realizing you have a completely different thing, and somebody else listens to it and goes, hey, you know what, that was kind of neat, and you're realizing that you just made a horrible mistake, but for some reason it's working.
Well, what goes into writing a song, and do you come up with the words, or do you come up with the melody? I mean, are you working on anything now? Can you?
It really depends on the idea. Generally, whether I start with music, whether I start with lyrics, is going to be dependent on whatever just started first. I might get a melody that reminds me of an experience, or creates a sort of a picture, in my mind as I'm hearing the notes.
So sometimes you're saying you start with words, and other times you just start with a melody. It really just depends on what strikes you, I guess.
Yeah, what sometimes happens is I end up with music that will recall a memory or a time or something along those lines, and I'll just get this mental image, and all of a sudden I'll start sort of reliving and processing what that experience was and what was going on. And
how do you know when a song is done or finished? How does that work?
I know there are people who are very good at finishing their own songs.
Yeah.
I lean very heavily on a producer. I have to have somebody who tells me when it's done, because I will work it forever.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah. I end up in a situation where I have somebody who will tell me, you know what, you are writing the life right out of this thing. You should have quit about 3 weeks ago.
Well, can you play a little something for us here, and
can.
just something you might be working on, or?
Yeah. The leaves outside a room are dancing just above the ground, rolling round and round and round and round again. She's not sure, but it seems clear there's a reason why she landed here, from lost to found to oh so lost again. And she's not really sure what's gonna come of this, but she knows that it's time for a change. And she fixes a drink and she sits on the floor, and she holds her head and wonders why, and she tells herself she'll be better soon, just a little more time. Jenny cries.
That's cool, man.
Thank you.
Now, it looks, watching someone play guitar just looks like that looks very simple to do. But how much practice do you do, like weekly, and how difficult is that song to play, for example?
Well, my answer to the people that I respect that are guitar players is always, I don't practice nearly enough.
Okay.
I've been playing for over 30 years at this point, and the funny part is it's almost all self-taught. I only took my first guitar lesson, actual lesson from someone, like I want to say maybe a year ago.
That's amazing, don't you think?
Well, it came out of frustration.
The guitar lesson did?
The guitar lesson came out of frustration. Yeah. It was based on the fact that I had done the same thing the same way for so many years, having taught myself, that I got to a point where I started kind of mechanically boxing myself into corners. I found there were certain things I didn't know how to do or how to get out of. And so I thought the only way I'm going to be able to do that is going to be to actually get some instruction. It's going to be so much better when I actually know what I'm doing.
How did that feel to take a lesson?
It was great.
Really?
Yeah, I was, when I was a kid, I never wanted to. I always thought, it's all these rules and exercises and it's boring. When you have a knowledge in the foundation of the instrument, then it just becomes about getting better. You're focused on technique. You're focused on learning things and unlocking things inside the instrument that you didn't know were there.
Well, what sounds do you like?
In what framework?
Just in your music and when you create music, what sounds are you looking for?
Well, I am a huge fan of almost any sound a guitar is capable of making. Okay. I like the sound of a nice warm acoustic guitar. I love the soft, subtle sound of a pedal steel. And then, raging rock guitars.
So how would you describe your sound?
It's tough to kind of throw it in a category, because there's so many different influences that it comes from. Probably more of an Americana
Okay.
kind of thing. I had influences from country that I was never aware of.
I was just going to ask you what your influences were.
Yeah,
So,
well, my conscious influences were all, rock stuff that wouldn't get me beat up in high school if I admitted to it. But then I become aware of all the other things that my folks listened to, that I heard all the time, but never would have consciously thought of as influences. And that was everything from Elvis Presley to Johnny Mathis to all the country stuff that my mom liked to listen to. That was one of the experiences that I didn't know I was getting at the time, that ended up really shaping the way that I approach a song. And I think most of that is because the country writers really focus on the story. If it doesn't flow and it doesn't put the story across and the images in your head, the song's nowhere. It doesn't matter how many notes you're playing, which is kind of different from rock.
yeah. We'll be back with more with Gene Faith after this short break.
Supporting locally owned businesses is better for the economy, builds unique communities, and preserves the environment. Find out more at localfirstaz.com. Think local, buy local, be local.
Well, Gene, let's talk about some projects that you're involved in now. What do you got going?
Right now I got a Pink Floyd tribute band that I play with called In the Flesh.
Okay.
It's a 9-piece band. We basically recreate the music from all through Pink Floyd's career, from Dark Side of the Moon all the way up through The Wall and Animals, and try to replicate the recordings as authentically as we possibly can and still create the vibe of going to an actual Pink Floyd concert.
Now, you also have your own stuff working too, right? Aren't you working on another
I'm in
CD?
like 7 or 8 different bands at this point.
Is that normal?
Well, I don't know how frequently musician and normal collide in the same sentence, but I will tell you that almost every musician I know is in at least 3 or 4 projects. And I'm convinced the reason is that no one project can get booked enough to actually be able to eat.
Wow.
So-
Let's talk about bands. Everybody wants to be in a band, right?
I know I do.
I mean, everybody in America wants to be in a band, it seems like. What's the easiest way to get involved? I mean, and seriously, like, say I want to get in a band. What's the easiest way really to path?
I don't know that easy is really how I would frame
best
that.
way then.
The best way is to do what moves you. If what you care about is rhythm, then maybe percussion is your bag. If you enjoy the sound of a guitar, then go that direction. If you can sing, try that.
How do you know? How do you know if you can do any of those things? So
Well-
what's the progress? How do I go to that? How do I get there?
I don't know. You just start doing it. In my case, I came from a family where no one in my house played music other than to listen to it. Yeah. But it turns out as I got older and learned more that I had grandparents that were fantastic musicians.
When you found this out later?
Oh yeah. And so I'm not really sure what really led me there. It was just something that I had an interest in. Some kids want to play ball. Some kids,
How'd you know you could sing? How did you know you could write?
I'm still not convinced I can sing. It's taken many, many years for me to get to the point where I'm comfortable with the sound of my own singing voice. I'm talking like only within the last 5 years have I really gotten comfortable with my own singing. And I've been doing it for a very, very long time, but I always regarded myself as a guitar player that sings,
right,
not a singer and guitar player.
Well, since you're in 7 or 8 projects, I mean, let's talk about band relationships. How important is it to getting along, and how important is the chemistry of all that?
Oh, man, it's everything.
It
is absolutely everything. I have been in situations where it was never going to make any money, ever.
Yeah.
The songwriting was marginal at best, but the people were great, and so there was so much good energy about it, you couldn't wait to do the project. On the other hand, I've been in bands that had a lot of talent, where you had 1 or 2 people that were just poison pills to the entire thing. You couldn't stand to be with them. And you start getting people worrying about how much attention they're getting, how many songs do they get to sing. When you start playing with that in mind, you start abandoning what's good for the song and you start focusing on the individual performer. And that kills everything that's cool about being in a band.
So how do you know when it clicks? You just feel it or what? I mean,
There's not like a equation that tells you that it works.
Okay.
But man, when it does, you feel it. It's like falling in love. You know, when you have somebody that just really does it for you and everything works in every facet of your life. A great band is like that. When you step out on stage and you start playing and you immediately know that you are a part of something so much bigger than what you're personally contributing to it.
well, that's got to be a great feeling.
That's fantastic. The Pink Floyd band does that every night. You should come see it lots.
Hey, now, do you play for yourself or do you play for the crowd?
Yes.
I thought you might say that.
Yeah. If the crowd is having a good time,
Yeah.
I have a better time.
Yeah.
If the crowd's not having a good time, well, first they're not at my show, because they always have fun at my show.
Now,
Sorry.
what other musicians have you played with? I mean, have you gotten a chance to play with some people that you really respected?
I've had a chance to play with some amazing people.
Yeah.
I have issue with name dropping, but I will tell you that I have learned more from the people I've played with than I ever learned teaching myself how to play. There's something about learning how to mechanically play an instrument, and then there is something about someone with a lot of experience helping you understand what it means to play with a group of people and that give and take and how not to take up too much space and not leave too much space. It's an amazing process.
Best and worst gig?
Oh, wow. Best gig was with In the Flesh, the Pink Floyd tribute.
Okay.
We played at the Marquee Theater back in November. We were the opening act. We have the place like 3/4 full.
All right.
And it was just fantastic. It was so much fun. And every time you look up, you look at one of your bandmates on the stage, you know, they're just grinning from ear to ear, and you look out in the audience and they're going nuts. Fantastic.
Worst gig?
Wow, I got to narrow it down to one, huh? Let's see. Well, there was one where we got kicked out of for detonating, well, I don't know, is detonating the right word for a flame column?
Probably.
Yeah, bar owners get really upset
They didn't like that
when,
so
well,
much.
they didn't know it was coming, and flames rolling off the acoustic tiles, and they got pretty upset pretty quickly. We had to grab what we could of our stuff and
Did
go.
that kind of end the gig then? Was that kind of the last number?
Yeah, it does a lot to say the night's over. It really does say it.
How would you say the music scene is here in the Valley for musicians like yourself?
The scene in Phoenix is really, really diverse. There's the typical, top 40 cover, classic rock cover kind of stuff.
See that a lot.
There really is an interesting collection of singer-songwriters in the Valley, and you got to go look for them. It's, you got to cruise through the New Times and find the list of the people that are playing. But
Now, what venues would you suggest that are good venues to check something like that on? What would you tell
for
our
original
audience?
music,
Yeah, what would you tell our audience?
Club Mardi Gras in Scottsdale.
Okay.
The Hollywood Alley
Yeah.
is a good one. There was a great place years ago, and it vanished. I think it's like the bottom of a gas station now. It was called the Emerald Lounge. I
Oh,
believe.
yeah.
Yeah, you remember?
Of course.
We
Yeah.
did a gig there, and you were there, and
I think I was there.
You actually set that gig up, as I recall.
I don't think you can prove that.
Yes, I can. I have photos. And I remember that we were standing out behind the club and voted that the alley we were most likely to be stabbed to death in.
You're exactly right.
Yeah. I never went back. I was scared.
What are your favorite venues to play in?
The Marquee is great. The people there are always incredibly nice, very, very accommodating in terms of anything that we need. And big rooms are cool.
Yeah.
We got a chance to play at the Airways Center back in December. And I learned something very valuable about a 15,000 seat arena.
And what's that?
3,000 people is one of the biggest audiences I've ever played for.
Yeah.
Man, it's like there's nobody there.
Oh, inside.
It's
Yeah.
amazing how empty that place can be.
What would you say your best moment's been in your music career?
Well, the best moment, okay, I know, it's going to sound really, really sappy. Best moment of my music career would have actually been when I was playing with a band that you knew about. It was the Gene Faith Band.
I heard of them.
And yeah, you heard of them. And we had just finished our record, and you were coming over basically to hear the band. We were talking about scheduling some gigs, that kind of thing. Yeah. And you brought in a photographer.
Okay.
To take some pictures of the band.
I know where this is going.
Yes, you do. I ended up marrying her. You know, you don't get paid for every gig, but man, you know, when you walk away from it with somebody that special, that's a pretty cool payoff.
Well, Gene, you know, we always ask, this name of our show is Inside the Artist's Mind, and you happen to be the artist today, as luck would have it. And so we always ask, what's inside your mind? So.
Oh, wow, you have my sympathy. I guess if you'd asked me earlier, what would I tell anybody who was wanting to get into music?
Yeah.
And that is just stay with what you feel. If you don't believe it, your audience won't either. So be true to what you believe, be true to what you want to do, and always, always, always take your wallet on stage with you.
Hey, last question. It's a wives' tale, I think, but you always hear musicians are never on time. And if that's true, why is that?
Because the show doesn't start until we're there, man.
Okay. Well, thanks so much, man.
Thank
it's a pleasure. I hope we can catch up with you when you've got your new CD out, and we'll like to
That'd be great.
See what that sounds like, man.
Thanks.
Thanks. You know, I had a great time with Gene Faith today, and make sure you go to his MySpace page to check out more information about Gene. And don't forget the Pink Floyd tribute band, InTheFleshTribute.com. Go to that site if you want to see where they might be playing around town. Now, keeping with the same idea of music, we've got a new segment for you today. It's a local band called I Me Mine. Check it out.
So shy, hiding behind your cocktail when conversation died. I tried to be cool, you shut me down, I feel like a fool. I tried to keep it real, tell me what's in your heart and how you feel. So bored, I need another drink. Say what? What's my sign? Oh, please help me, I need another drink. I could have stayed home now, watch my TV.
Yeah, yeah. I'm feeling pretty special about you right now.
Okay, 15 seconds, stand by.
Well, Gene, let's talk about what projects you're involved in now. What do you got going?
Right now, I've got, in addition to my own songs and working on some recording, I've got a band that I play with now
Right.
called.
Bust. You didn't shift
Profile.
your whole body, you know? No. I don't
Maybe
think you-
once, when I was a young lad.
It's right here, where I need to be.
Nice. Thanks, Sunshine.
Big smile.
Energy.
5,
I'm gonna get him.
3.
For more information on our show, contact us at 480-969-3789 or drop us a line at moreinfo@iamtvshow.com.